Is your cousin hot and you want to marry them? Well, that doesn't matter today because Robert Jenrick's just been sacked from the Tory party. So we're going to talk about that instead. But before we go into it, please like the video, feel free to subscribe if you haven't already, and do feel free to comment. I do read all your comments, or one of them that I get, and I thank that person very much for it. But otherwise, let's get into it. So, Robert Jenrick has been sacked from the Tories. So what's happened? Spoiler alert, if you haven't read the news. So Robert Jenrick, he's an MP. He's a very popular MP in the Tory party. Now, he had a leadership contest, became a finalist, didn't win, and ever since then, it's basically looked like he's kind of been playing to be leader, but essentially he's been sacked because documentation plotting his defection to reform was left lying around. Don't know how you leave a digital copy of something lying around, but anyway, we're going to get into that a bit more. So, who is Robert Jenrick? So, as I mentioned already, Robert Jenrick is a Tory MP. Now, when I go back to the last Boris government, so he was in the government as Minister of State and Health under Truss, and then Rishi had him for a bit, right? He resigned from the Tory party over strong disagreements with the government's Rwanda asylum plan, saying it did not go far enough to tackle illegal immigration. So he's probably one of the old school Tories who's an actual Tory and not a Lib Dem in sheep's clothing. All right. So he resigns, and then obviously, as you know, we have a general election. Rishi loses. He quits as leader, so they have a leadership contest. Now, the leadership contest is absolutely hilarious because the Tories wanted James Cleverly to become the leader. Now, as you know, Tories are notorious for effing up their assassination attempts. And when I say assassination, I mean political assassination, of course. So, Liz Truss got in. They didn't want Liz Truss to be leader, so they basically rigged the whole system against her and then forced her out. Then they got Rishi, who was useless. So, they want James Cleverly in. And what happens is, it's between James, Kemi, and Robert. And they muck up. Basically, what happens is they wanted him against, I think, Kemi, so that it was an easy victory. Because after, basically, they have to get down to two people, okay? And the Tory MPs sort of keep voting, and whoever's got the two highest votes gets through, okay? Then the Tory members vote. So they were trying to cook it so that I think it was going to be between James Cleverly and Kemi. But because they had absolutely no coordination, they accidentally ended up voting for Robert as well. So Robert and Kemi got into the final and James Cleverly didn't. So that was the first thing. Then Kemi wins, basically because the Tories are full of boomers. They don't like anti-immigration because they still think immigrants are the assimilating Indians that we got back in the 70s. So Kemi wins, right? And Kemi's been a bit rubbish ever since then. So that's what happened. Since that he lost that competition, he's basically been on a campaign march. So he goes to Calais. Yeah, sorry, he goes to Calais. I was just reading the date. It was way earlier than that. It wasn't August last year, but so he goes to Calais to go actually look at the asylum seekers and actually get some first-hand experience, right? He's then in the news for saying that he was in Birmingham and he didn't see another white face. Now, mind you, I've actually been to Birmingham recently for a winter event, Christmas do. Yeah, it was absolutely terrifying. So, not going to say that. And so he's the only sort of Tory MP who's kind of really been out. I mean, Nick Timothy does what I'm about, but he's also kind of been out there, and he's basically saying immigration bad. We need to leave the EHCR. He's basically the Tory that you want. So when Kemi won the Tory election, that was great news for Nigel Farage and Reform, because she was basically more of the same, basically a Lib Dem wearing blue. If Robert Jenrick had gotten in as the Tory leader, he'd actually probably keep a lot of Conservatives on board, and Reform probably would not be doing as well as they are now. And a next government, more than likely, probably would have seen a coalition with the Tories as the majority rather than what's looking like to be Reform as the majority, but Reform looks like they're going to smash it. So yeah. Now and then, right? Now, actually, get onto just what Kemi says. Now, just to start off with, this is Kemi's video. This is how she's decided to address the nation over one of the most influential sackings that's ever going to be. She looks fine. I don't care about how she's dressed, but it's like a blurred background. It's basically, yeah, she's. It looks rubbish, but let's just crack on.
This morning, I removed the Conservative whip from Robert Jenrick after dismissing him from the shadow cabinet. I was very sorry to be presented with clear, irrefutable evidence, not just that he was preparing to defect, but he was planning to do so in the most damaging way possible to the Conservative Party and his shadow cabinet colleagues. It is my responsibility to protect our party, and faced with that information, I took the only decision that any responsible leader could. Because the British public are tired of political psychodrama. So am I.
I'm not, because it's great to talk about. But essentially, that's the story. And one thing I just wanted to kind of point out is, right, so Robert Jenrick, he's now joined Reform, okay? So it's mental because Robert Jenrick is actually really popular. There's a very good chance he might be running Reform one day, all right? Because Robert Jenrick will get you a lot more votes than Sia Yousaf will. Because at the moment it looks like Sia Yousaf is the one who's going to be taking over. Robert Jenrick is a real sort of Prime Minister candidate, okay? I don't know if Nigel's going to like that because he got rid of Rupert Lowe because Rupert Lowe got more popular. So, yeah, Robert Jenrick, anti-immigration, wants mass deportations, wants to leave the EHCR, all this other stuff. If I'm wrong, then please do let me know. That's what Rupert Lowe was saying, and Nigel wasn't on board with it. So Robert might be more on the right than Nigel sort of is prepared to look like he's going. Okay. Now, you're probably wondering, well, that's not going to make much difference. Well, there's this poll that came out. Just want to show you this quickly, if it lets me enlarge. This is a general election voting intention. Now, what they've done is they've actually put in a selection of a party led by Rupert Lowe. 9% of the population would vote for a party purely led by Rupert Lowe. Okay, that's mental. 9%, literally, that's 9% of people will literally say we don't care sort of like what else is happening as long as you're the leader. Why is that? Because Rupert Lowe has been sat there banging a drum about getting people off benefits, getting people out of hotels, mass deportations, bringing in the death penalty. Like, that's a lot of people. Now, obviously, a lot of those Reform votes at the top are going to be people who also think the same thing, but just want to say, no, I'd vote for Reform. You know what I mean? So, having Robert Jenrick in your corner, that's really going to bolster Reform, in my opinion, okay? Because there's going to be a lot of Tories who think, oh, I just don't want to vote for Nigel, or, you know, they're not really established, like, they're not part of the, you know, mainstream, you know, institutions. But if Rupert Lowe can get 9% of the vote, and that's excluding the sort of loads of people that are going for Reform, it's a very popular opinion, obviously, to be anti-migration and basically based, okay? So, yeah, long and short of it then, as a wee summary, Robert Jenrick joining Reform, it's sort of bound to happen, but at the same time, after the May elections, so you've got the elections in Scotland, Wales, and the councils in England, if the Tories hadn't done well, there would have been a very good chance that Robert would have done a leadership contest and dethroned Kemi. If he had done that, then you'd be seeing a split in the votes, and Reform probably wouldn't be doing as well as they are at the moment. The only reason Reform are doing as well at the moment is because the Greens, Labour, Conservatives, Lib Dems, SNP, Plaid Cymru, and your party, all of them, none of them want to deter migration. So if you are anti-immigration, when I say anti-immigration, if you want it controlled and you want to stop letting millions of people in a year, or net 600, 800,000, Reform at the moment are the only party that are slightly close to actually doing that. Now, Nigel isn't the biggest fan of actually openly admitting it. Maybe he's playing his cards close to his chest so that he can try and get as many mainstream votes as possible. But at the end of the day, Robert Jenrick joining Reform is going to be massive to them. It's going to make the Conservatives look like absolute milquetoast. And don't be surprised if this is actually the end of the Conservatives, because people are Naheem Zahawi, Danny Kruger, Nadine Dorris. I mean, she's an absolute wet fish, but still big name. A lot of the actual maybe Thatcherite right-wing Tories will go to Reform, and then what's the Conservatives going to have left? They're basically going to be Liberal Democrats, but not Liberal Democrats. They're basically going to have Liberal Democrat policies, because Rory Stewart, remember him? He tried being their leader and then ended up voting for Lib Dem. He's now best mates with Alistair Campbell, so not a nice person. You imagine the Conservatives after next election, they're going to be absolutely cream crackered. So, yeah, guys, thank you for watching this video. Please do, if you've got any comments, feel free to put them in the comment section. Like the video as well, and guys, have a great rest of your day. And I do promise you, the next video I do, we will talk about how hot your cousins are and how we're going to marry them. Otherwise, bye bye.